Hari Om, everyone. Welcome back to our Lalita-Sahasra-Nāma class. I will begin with the prayers. Sindhuraruna vigraham trinayanam mahanikyamulispurat taranayaka shekharam smitamukhim navakroruham panibhyam alipurnaratna chashakam Raktotpalam bibhratim saumyam ratnakatastaraktacharanam dhyayet paramambikam dhyayet padmasanastham vikasitavadanam padmapatrayatakshim hemabham pitavastram karakalitalasadhima padmam varangim sarvalankarayuktam Satatamabhayadam bhaktanamram bhavanim Shri Vidyam Shantamurtim Sakalasuranutam Sarvasampatpradatrim Sakunkumavilepanamalikachumvikasturikam Samandahasite kshanam Sasharachapapashankusham Asheshajadamohini marunamalya bhusham varam Japa kusuma bhasuram japavidho smaredambikam arunam karunatarangitakshim dhritapashankushapushpabana chapam animadibhiravritam mayukairahamityeva vibhavaye bhavanim. It is important to note again and again that the last meditation verse says, we ourselves are the Divine Mother, Lalita Tripurasundari, in our deepest nature, with eyes in which waves of compassion arise. Karuna tarangitakshim. So very important that to understand this Lalita-Sahasranama, we always have to come back to the most essential point, which is that this is a description of our own innermost nature. It is not a description of someone who is separate from us. Very important, again and again, to acknowledge this. The next name is Gamakshi. This is also the name of the Divine Mother, as she resides in Kanchipuram, in the south of India, in her main temple. Those of you who have never visited, you're highly encouraged to visit there. It's a very powerful seat of energy, a Shakti Pita. Just to meditate there really changes something in us. And the name Gamakshi means she whose eyes are filled with love. There is also another meaning, a sort of secret one, which is that the syllable Ka represents Saraswati and the syllable Ma represents Lakshmi. And if taken in this sense, it means that she who has or holds Saraswati and Lakshmi in her eyes, so that her eyes express Saraswati and Lakshmi. Saraswati being absolute wisdom and Lakshmi being absolute splendor and fortune. Kamadayini, she grants wishes, she fulfills the auspicious aspirations, that when we really have the right aspiration towards liberation, towards the benefit of others, then she fulfills that. However, she's also Ahankara Durgama. She is not reachable through ego or selfishness. So the further away we come from selfishness, the more we will see that our aspirations become fulfilled. Now the next 30 names or so, I will only summarize because they are a description of the story that I mentioned to you at the very beginning of these sessions, and this I will repeat. It is about Bhandasura. The demon Bhanda the meaning of which is darkness or blindness. If you remember, this demon was born from the ashes of Kamadeva when he was burnt by Shiva's anger. And then Bhanda obtained a boon, that he could not be overpowered by a man. Not corona. That he could not be overpowered by any man, but in his arrogance or pride, he forgot to think that a woman, a female energy, might be able to overcome him. So he then started hassling the gods and overcame Indra and the Devas even. And they then prayed to the Absolute, and from each of their limbs an energy emanated and came together in the form of Tripura Sundari. So then Devi is accompanied by many forms of her own. These are called the Nitya Devis, and also other forms of Devi. And a battle ensues in which the different emanations of Bhandasura come and fight the different emanations of Devi. And this is symbolic of our own true nature wishing to come out and to manifest itself. But in the process, our deluded nature has to be overpowered. It has to be transformed. So if we have a lot of pride, for instance, then our true nature begins to manifest, but it has to transform our pride. That means we might come into situations where our pride is challenged, our conceit is challenged. All spiritual practitioners go through this. The moment we enter spirituality, this true nature, the Divine Mother, begins to come out from our inner being, begins to manifest in us. And that means we then have to overcome our inner demons, such as conceit, envy, jealousy, pride, excessive desire, anger. All these then begin to be challenged by our true nature as it comes out. And this is then known as the path that we engage upon. So the deeper we seek our true nature and the deeper it begins to manifest, the more our demons, our inner demons, react. And this is symbolized by this battle which ensues, which follows between Bhandasura and his army, which are all the negative qualities of delusion on the one side, and the Divine Mother, Lalita, on the other side, with all the forces of light, all the positive qualities, all the good qualities. And she herself represents absolute love. So for absolute love to flourish in our being, we have to engage in this fight against our negative qualities. So all the following names, they describe this ensuing battle, that she is surrounded by a cavalry of millions of Shaktis that are riding on energetic beings, like horses, for instance, symbolize energetic beings. And that she herself rides upon the Chakra Raja, the Shri Chakra itself, as a chariot, and that she is equipped with all the weapons needed to overcome the negative qualities. And she delights in seeing the power and energy of her own Devis that are in her retinue, the Devis that are in her army. She delights in that. So that means when we engage in good qualities, such as love for others, maitri, compassion for others, then our true nature is energized. Our true nature is delighted, and that is why we experience happiness when we engage a little bit for the benefit of others. Even if it is just in our meditation, when we connect and we pray for the benefit of others, then we feel a sudden happiness. A friend of mine just sent me an interesting article that shows engaging in compassion meditation actually stabilizes the mind and brings out happiness. So our text is saying the same thing in very symbolic language, that the Divine Mother delights in the energy of the Devis that are around her, the positive qualities. That is nothing but what our modern scientific article also says. It's very interesting to compare different types of languages in the sense of different ways of describing the same principle, the same reality. And she rejoices in the destruction of the demon Vishanga, who is also one of the chiefs in Banda's army. And the meaning of Vishanga is very interesting. Vishanga means extreme attachment, not being able to let go of things, being extremely attached. I also struggle with this. We all do. That there is this energy in us that makes us attached to things, even when we don't want it, even when we just want to be absolutely free and we just want to be absolutely relaxed and we just want to enjoy the divinity. We just want to enjoy our chosen deity, or we want to just enjoy life and let everything flow. But suddenly we feel this attachment coming up and we just can't do anything. That is Vishanga, you see. And the Divine Mother helps to overcome him. And she delights in the overcoming of attachment. If we don't overcome Vishanga, if we don't overcome this great attachment to things, to ideas, to status, to fear, we are also attached to fear. We are attached to very concrete ideas about how our life will unfold, how the life of our loved ones will unfold. These are all attachments. If we don't overcome these, then 100% they will lead to suffering. You see, and that is ultimately what the Divine Mother wants to help us avoid, that we don't have to go through suffering. Because this is self-created. If we don't let go of the attachment, 100% it will give rise to suffering. So the Divine Mother wants to help us, and she wants to dissolve that attachment for us. Therefore, the more we connect with her through devotion, through meditation, the more we are able to overcome the attachment. And then she also rejoices in the overcoming of the demon Vishukra. Vishukra can be interpreted as one who allows sorrow to happen, one who allows suffering and sorrow to happen. That is our deepest problem in this world. All the things we experience, all the states we experience, potentially have in them this ability to cause sorrow. It is the very nature of this samsara. Shri Krishna says in the Gita that this is the dukkhalaya ashashvatam. It is the place of suffering, but it is not permanent, it is impermanent. It is the dukkhalaya. And this world always gives rise to dukkha, ultimately. Some form of dukkha, some form of dissatisfaction, some form of sorrow. And every one of us knows it. You know it, I know it. We just need to look into the world today to know this. And the Divine Mother rejoices in dissolving that. When we truly connect with her, fully, always, like to a mother, like a child to its mother, then slowly, slowly, she shows us her power to dissolve this sorrow that is at the very core of samsara. In this process of overcoming Banda, the demon of darkness, the demon of ignorance, in this process, Ganesha also appears. Simply by looking at Shiva's face, she is able to invoke Ganesha. Ganesha is known as Vigneshvara, the Lord who overcomes obstacles, who shatters all the hindrances. What are these hindrances? What are the primary hindrances to gaining clarity? There are 5. The first is that we like something specifically. And the second is that we dislike. The moment we get into the duality of like and dislike, we are already in trouble. So these two are the first 2 hindrances which Ganesha helps to overcome. The third hindrance is restlessness, that our mind is always agitated, always active. If you just for a moment close your eyes and watch your mind, your emotions, you will see that they don't remain stable even for a moment. It's always jumping, always wants to do something. And when we don't connect with the divinity or with our own consciousness through meditative practice, through awareness practice, through mantra, then our mind can carry us astray into deep troubles from which it is difficult to come out of. The fourth hindrance is one that you might not expect: boredom. That we're bored. And this boredom makes our mind confused and seek out some excitement, some adventure, some pleasures, and that again can lead to trouble. And then the fifth one is also mentioned in the Gita, that is doubt, uncertainty. Krishna says, samshayatma vinashyati, that someone whose very nature has become doubtful, always uncertain, such a person goes to ruin. And it's really true that when we are always in doubt and always uncertain, it is very sure that our whole emotional system, our whole inner world will go to ruin. So it is very important to recognize these 5 hindrances very clearly. To recognize like and dislike. To recognize restlessness, boredom, and doubt. And it is Lord Ganesha who helps to conquer these. Banda, the demon of ignorance, then hurls many weapons at the Divine Mother, at Devi. These weapons are all the negative emotions that come up in us. We might have just had a very wonderful spiritual practice, but then we come out of it and we encounter some situation, and then a negative emotion pops up. That is one of the weapons of Banda. He hurls negative emotions at us. So they come up in our mind and in our emotions, and it's very difficult to stay clear. So the Divine Mother counters each of these with one of her own weapons. And the 10 incarnations of Lord Vishnu, they also emanate for the same purpose, to overcome Banda, the demon of ignorance. Then the Pashupata Astra, this is the weapon of Shiva, which is representative of the fire of jnana, the fire of awareness. With this weapon, finally all the demons in Banda's army are burnt up, nirdagdha. What this means is that all the negative emotions, all the negative states have to be completely erased. If even one of them remains, it means we cannot attain the Divine Mother's supreme state. It means we cannot attain liberation. We can't attain freedom, moksha, if any negative emotion remains. So they have to be completely burnt. Sri Krishna in the Gita says that he is the fire of jnana, he is the fire of awareness. Similarly here, the weapon of Shiva is known as the fire of awareness. And with this, all the negative emotions are completely burnt. We don't have a single, even a shred of hatred anymore for anyone. No enmity, no jealousy, no envy, no greed. Everything is completely erased from our heart. There's only love. Love for the Divine Mother, love for the divinity, love which is our true nature, love for all beings. When that is our state, then we are eligible for liberation, for moksha. And then finally, with the weapon of love, the weapon of absolute love, she destroys and burns up Bandasura himself. With the Kameshvara Astra, with the weapon of the Lord of Love. That is our goal, that is our aim, that is what we seek to achieve on the spiritual path. And then all the deities Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and all the devas, they come together and they praise this supreme dissolution, this overcoming of Bandhasura, the demon of ignorance and darkness. They come together and they praise her. And it is then Haranetragni Sandagdha Kama Sanjeevanaushadhi that she can bring to life again the real Kamadeva, the real God of love. Whereas Bandhasura was the fake one. He was the ignorant form of love. He was desire, attachment, not true love. That is why he was born from the ashes of Kamadeva, but became a demon. And it is only after she was able to dissolve him. This means only when we can dissolve selfishness, selfish desire, selfish love. When we can dissolve that, then the true Kamadeva can appear. Then she can give rise to him and she can bring him to life. And that is exactly what she did at the end. She brought Kamadeva back to life. But the true Kamadeva, the devas were praising her and pointed out that Kamadeva is no longer here. That means the whole world is bereft of love. No one has love anymore. And Rati, Kamadeva's beloved Shakti, his beloved partner, was absolutely desperate. So then, the Divine Mother, through her blessing, became the medicine that woke Kamadeva back to life. Then the next name, Srimad Vagbhavakuteika Swarupa Mukha Pankaja, refers to the first part of the Divine Mother's mantra, which we won't speak here because it's a very sacred mantra. This is called the Vagbhavakuta. So the first part of her mantra, there are 3 parts, and the first part represents the energy of speech, or Saraswati. And this is a description of her subtle body. In the previous verses, her outer form, if you remember, was described. Her incredible beauty, that her teeth are so resplendent that it dispels all darkness. But this was an outer description. Now the inner description, the energy description of the Divine Mother is happening, and this is related to her mantra. Because the mantra of a deity is the energy body of the deity. The moment we speak a mantra, we touch the innermost energy body of the deity. So it is not wrong to say that in fact a mantra is the deity in a subtle form. So her lotus face, her upper part of her energy body, represents the Vagbhava part of her mantra, which is related to Saraswati. And then the part from her neck to her middle, Kantadha Katiparayanta Madhyakuta Swarupini. This represents the middle part of her mantra, which is related to Mahalakshmi, the Divine Mother as Lakshmi. And then Shakti Kutaikatapanna Katyadhobhagadharini. And then from her middle part, from her waist downward, is the third part of the mantra. And this is related to Shakti, or Mahakali, the third form of the Divine Mother. Thus, these 3 energies, Saraswati, Lakshmi, and Shakti or Kali, they together form the whole of the Divine Mother's mantra. A mantra has 4 aspects. This is related to the next name, which is Mula Mantra-tmika, that she is the root of the mantra, or she is the root mantra, the Mula Mantra. A mantra has 4 aspects. There is an outermost aspect, which is simply the sound. Then there is an inner aspect, which is the meaning. Then there is a deeper inner aspect, which is the energy. And then there is the deepest aspect, which is the deity itself. This applies to all mantras, not only to Tripura Sundari's mantra. So there's the outer sound, then there is the meaning, then there is the energy, and then finally there is the innermost aspect, which is the deity itself. And as mentioned before, her subtle body is made up of these 3 parts of the mantra. Mula Kuta Traya Kalevara. She is fond of the nectar that emerges from Kula. Kula refers to the uppermost aspect of our Sahasrara chakra, the 1,000-petaled lotus. In the center of this is the Kula, and from there, when we repeat mantra and when we practice certain yogic exercises, the nectar begins to flow into our subtle body. This is why we experience bliss when we repeat mantras, or why we might experience certain energies. Some people feel certain energetic effects in their body. This is because this nectar begins to become active. She protects the sacred rituals of the path of yoga, which is also known as Kula. Her particular yogic practices are summarized by the word Kula. She protects these practices, so much so that such sacred practices always have to be received from the mouth of the Guru. If they are not received from the mouth of the Guru, they are said not to be effective. Because of this protection that the Divine Mother has, or that she provides. She is well born, or more literally, she is from a good family. What this means is that she is the most noble lady, and that she's like a bride who is from a good family, and only a pure bridegroom is worthy of such a bride. So, for ourselves to become worthy of true knowledge, worthy of freedom, worthy of liberation, we have to see that all our negative emotions are overcome, because Bandhasura cannot meet the Divine Mother. Bandhasura cannot connect with the Divine Mother. So if we in our heart are Bandhasura, if we are full of conceit, full of negativity, we can't meet her. We can't reach her. It's very important to know this. And she herself resides and dwells in the sacred practices. That she's not only protecting them, the sacred spiritual practices, she herself resides in them. And that by engaging in them, we connect to her energy. She is the yogini of these practices. She herself has performed them in many, many incarnations. For instance, if you go to the southernmost part of India, there is a place known as Kanyakumari. And Kanyakumari was an incarnation of Tripura, of Devi, as a real human being who then sought to unite with Shiva again, so much that we can find her footprint still present there from her intense spiritual practice. So it is not that Devi is just high above in the sky and that we mortals should engage in these spiritual practices in which she dwells. She herself practiced them. That is why she is known as the yogini of these practices. Similarly, Krishna is Yogeshwara. He is the Lord of Yoga. He himself attained mastery of all the spiritual yogic practices which he then related to his disciples. It is not that he just had them present from his birth. Of course, secretly he did, but he engaged in these practices when he manifested, when he incarnated. And yet, the Divine Mother is also beyond the rituals. She's always beyond them too. So that is why those of you who don't like rituals or who don't feel attracted to them don't have to worry. You can just innerly in your heart center connect to the absolute beauty known as Tripura. You don't necessarily have to do outer rituals because she herself is also beyond rituals. For instance, just relaxing and observing our consciousness, our mind, is also a spiritual practice that ultimately connects with her, because she's our true nature. This involves no ritual, and yet we can still connect with her. So don't lose heart if you don't like rituals, and I know that some of you don't. So let us finish here. We have almost completed 100 names in total. That means we have covered 1/10 of the Lalita-Sahasranama. And now the names will become shorter and some of them can be summarized as we did today. So I hope that we will move a little faster and that we can then cover the whole Lalita-Sahasranama within a reasonable period of time. Otherwise, I will be old and bald. I'm almost bald already until we finish, or I might have no teeth left. So it is good that we move a little faster. I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have some question, please feel free now to ask. All right, then you are released into your evening. I hope you have a wonderful evening, everyone. Please relax, be full of love. That is the essence of the teaching. Relaxing, being full of love and joy, and making the best of every moment. Hari Om, and see you in 2 weeks.